All right, and it looks like we're good to go on this one. Hey there, everyone, and thank you for dropping by tonight. Welcome to tonight's episode of the Xbox Roundtable Podcast. This is show number 193. Damn, 193 already? Damn, time's really catching up with me. This is your host, Invader, and I'm really excited to get to some of the Xbox news that has made the rounds the past week or so. Xbox has had their latest indie showcase. What did we think of it? Well, we'll get into that in a sec. Also, Hellblade received, a little bit of there's a little bit of a surprise enhancement on Xbox Series consoles. We will get into that as well. And QuakeCon is on the horizon with some interesting rumors hitting the rounds. We'll cover that and a little more. But first, let me introduce my fellow Xboxians on the TXR panel, and I'll kick it off with Centurion, buddy. Hey, how you doing over there?
What is up, everybody? It is Sunday night. It is time to talk games. And yes, we had an Xbox show this week, so there is a lot to talk about. Let's get into this.
Yeah, there is quite a few things to talk about. You are correct.
I guess, yeah, I could also be. I've been kind of sleeping with another console for this past week.
Oh, no way. No way. Who are you cheating on?
I'm trying to knock out Days Gone. I really am. I'm at that point where I'm like hunting the hordes before I try to cap off the final mission of the campaign. But yeah, I'm really trying to get some of my backlog knocked out, and I've been staring at Days Gone for sitting on the shelf forever. So it was time to kind of get that one dealt with.
All right. Yeah, I really want to hit up Days Gone too. There's a few PlayStation titles that I want to get to. Now that I look at it, I mean, I have a week off coming up, so I want to check out some of these titles that I've been sitting on. So,
I will definitely say it's tragic if it's true that there's not going to be a sequel, but I really want to say that. Could we really say that there's never going to be a sequel? I remember when BioWare and EA took the stance and pretty much facepalmed everybody and said, no, we are not doing a Mass Effect remaster. That is not where our priorities are. And they kind of changed their tune real quick. So you never know.
Yeah, because EA and BioWare smell money. That's why.
Well, I'm pretty sure Jim Ryan likes to smell money because he's putting that crap on everything. Well, you get the impression.
Yes, I do.
No, PlayStation's not crap. It's just he's putting it on everything.
Yeah, some of his commentary has been not so well received in the last 6 months, maybe even a year or so. But moving further down the list here, General MLD, buddy, great to see you back here. How you doing?
Hey, good to be here. Good to talk with you, fine gentlemen. It's a very interesting week. Of course, Xbox is always keeping it interesting, always giving us new things to discuss and look forward to. Currently, I'm trying to get my backlog completed before Halo Infinite comes out, but unfortunately, I left all the open world games to the very end. I'm debating whether or not I should start Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Valhalla, because I don't really care about the order.
I believe Centurion could give you a tip there.
Actually, you would want to probably play it in order because of the fact Odyssey... In Origins, they didn't really do a good job of leading up, but in Odyssey, there is a story that I know carries over so far, but I have only done a little bit of Valhalla because my Series X bricked playing Valhalla, so I've kind of had a little trepidation playing that game again.
Okay, all right. Odyssey first it is. Might as well.
Now, the only thing is, to properly do these games, I mean, you got to put you won't see the final ending of the main story of Odyssey unless you go through and you start going after all the mythical creatures and going after all the assassinations in the tree of the sons of Kratos or whoever they are. I mean, you got to put some work into it to get that final ending. But when you actually kind of see the ending and get into the story, it's a mind-blowing story.
Okay, good to know. I'm expecting at least a solid 60, 80 hours into each game.
Dude, I've got about 200 hours in Odyssey.
Oh, boy. Well, I don't think I'm a completionist for these Ubisoft games, but okay, yeah, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, totally. Actually, yeah, I just picked up a Ubisoft game with the past sale, the summer sale. What was it? I got the Far Cry 5 Gold Edition because, well,
Okay.
I've been itching to play some Far Cry. So,
Oh, dude, you haven't played Far Cry 5?
no, but it's funny enough. I remember you talking about it, so I'm like, you know
Dude,
what? It's like,
everybody talks about all the bad guys, but I think the father was one of the most iconic.
mhm.
I'm still Team Boss. I mean, he's good too, but
But dude, if we really think about it, I'm not trying to be mean. Voss was second in command.
I know, but
He,
his
he was
character.
he was like Darth Maul. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, you're that guy, but you're not the guy. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but when we talk about the father, that dude was like creepishly. I mean, talking like, here, drink the Kool-Aid.
Well, I know, but Bass was just batshit crazy. I love
Mhm.
seeing that.
Yeah, well, I picked up the Gold Edition, like I said, and like it comes with the Far Cry 3 Classic. So I was like, hey, you know what? Because of the season pass that's included. So, hey, I get all this additional content for like 23, $25. Okay. All right, I'll pick it up. So,
I will at least say Voss was more iconic than the actual main bad guy of Far Cry 3.
Oh
That
no
I will,
question.
dude. I will definitely say Voss kind of kicked that whole thing off of iconic bad guys for the Far Cry series.
Yes,
mhm,
100%.
totally. All right, moving on down here. Eric Shockley, buddy. Hey, how you doing, bro?
Oh yeah, doing pretty good. Just been doing some packing. Got most of my gaming packed up. About to move into a new house here soon, so have to just prioritize what I'm playing. So lately, just had my 3DS and my Vita out, and just my Xbox. So basically, stuff that I can play that's mobile, so I can pack up everything else, at
Mhm.
least for the next few months. But I was playing some Katamasi, or no, I was trying to.
Kind of
It's
Marty?
like when you say the first word, but you blend in this last word when you say it like opposite. Yeah, Katamari Damacy. I've been playing that the re-roll. It's just basically a remaster of like the original. But I've been playing that because it's just kind of easy time killer.
I
It's
thought
pretty
you had a
fun.
Kishi,
Akishi. Oh yeah, I have Akishi.
so
Um,
you're not XClouding it.
uh, not right now. Um, well, well, I'm not sure which games are. Sometimes like the games that are in Game Pass. Sometimes not all the games are in cloud right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're slowly being added.
I mean, maybe the ones I've been playing are, but I just hadn't whipped it out. Because lately, if I was doing mobile, I'd flip out my 3DS. I've been trying to get through. I got what happened a few years ago is when I was because I never played through Majora's Mask on N64. I think when I was like I forget how old I was when it first came out, like 11, 12 or something like that. I didn't really get the whole Groundhog's Day aspect of it. So I didn't like finish it like I did Ocarina at the time.
Why does the
So when
moon keep hitting the city?
yeah, I was like, wait, I'm trying to kill this, like not thinking like, long term for the Skull Kid boss, but I'm like, well, how am I supposed to beat him? Because you meet him in that first part, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Not knowing, okay, you're supposed to already have like, to turn back time and stuff. It was like, I don't know what to, yeah. So, but I got it on the 3DS, so I was playing. It was a perfect time to, get it at that point when they re-released it. But that's when
Dude,
I had the night before I put all my games into this game case I got from Nintendo. But then I somehow left it in my car, and my car got broken into. So, like all
Oh
my
no.
3DS
Oh,
games
sorry to
were
hear that.
in that case, and I'm like, fuck. But yeah. So I got really far in that game, so I just hadn't gone back to it, even though I'd replaced my 3DS years ago. So I've been just running through that, just trying to get back to where it was. But
dude, I remember when
yeah.
Majora's Mask came out, you had to like buy the graphics expansion for the Nintendo 64 just to
Mhm.
play the game. Remember that big old like
Yep, the
Lego
expansion
Yeah.
block
pack.
rocket thing you had to plug in the
Yeah.
top of it? Oh man, dude, I remember just playing that. I actually enjoyed that series of games back on the 64. Majora's Mask was one of those ones that at the end game, if you had all the masks and you were able to
Mhm.
become like the God Link, that's where it got fun.
Yeah, I think that was like the only game that really required it for performance. The other one it came with was Donkey Kong 64, but that was because that was the only way they knew how to fix, because there was a game-breaking bug. So they're like, well, the easiest way to fix it is if we just include the expansion pack, because giving it more RAM just solves the issue, versus actually they didn't have enough time, or I guess, funds left over to like go in there and try to actually fix it. But we're like, well, if you just include the expansion pack, it fixes itself. So that's why everyone got one for free. When they bought
The
Donkey
64 also gave us birth to the Rumble Pack. You had to plug that thing into the bottom of the controller, and that was that came with Star Fox 64
Yep.
or
Yeah,
was
yeah,
also
right.
used with Ocarina of Time.
That was so bulky back in the day, but it was so cool.
You had to put the batteries in your Rumble Pack.
I loved it. I loved it when I picked up Star Fox 64 and got the Rumble Pack. I was blown away. I know it was so simple at the
Star
time,
Fox
but
64 was one of those games where no matter how many times you beat it, you would just do it again.
Oh yeah, I played that
Well,
game
there were so many different branching paths that you had to like do perfectly to go a certain way.
Yeah.
Too.
yeah, some very memorable moments too. Okay, guys, Timmy is running a little behind. He should be here, well, in a bit anyways. But before we get into things, just a reminder that you can listen to the show on a wide variety of audio platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. So, hey, check us out on those. As well, we're also on different video platforms like Rumble. There's a whole bunch of links provided in the description if you're interested in checking us out on these other platforms. Now, on to our first bit of news tonight, and let's see here. Earlier this week, we had Xbox's second ID at Xbox Showcase. We got some new announcements, developer interviews, and, all that kind of stuff. I didn't really get a chance to catch it live, but I caught the feed afterwards. Shockley, buddy, did you get a chance to watch the Xbox Indie Showcase? And if you did, what did you think of it?
Oh yeah, that one I totally missed. I'm not gonna lie. That one I didn't see anything. I think I just forgot to watch it because I didn't see anything trending about it. I'm looking at it right now. Nothing really catches my eye except I haven't gotten around to it. The first origami. So I saw that one. That second one was in there.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten around to play the first one on that one. But nothing from what I'm looking at it, like kind of like the last one with the Song of Iron that caught my eye. From the last ID and some of the few other ones that kind of stuck out. From the ones I'm looking at, nothing stands out too much. I'm thinking maybe the library of, how do you say it? Runa? That one looks interesting, but I didn't catch a whole lot of it other than up until recently. So not sure if anyone, especially from the last ID at Xbox with the 4-hour show. That one I actually sat through and then checked in and out after I knew. I was like, wait, this is going on way longer than it should be. But other than Stardew Valley, I know I have that on the Switch, so that'd be cool. One to come to Game Pass if that's coming day one. That'd be good. Just outreach for that game, just to get a broader audience. But nothing stands out as much as in the first one. Seemed like it had a few more hits from what I'm showing from what Windows Central has than last time. But did they already? I'm trying to think of when. Is there any update on Tunic? I feel like we've seen that game for 4 years. Was that in the last show? There's still no update
I don't think
on.
So.
Okay.
I still haven't heard anything about Tunic. I didn't see anything personally from the updates that I saw.
Okay.
I haven't seen any talk.
That's
about
when we
Tunic.
got on the last ID one right before it, we got kind of an update of what do you call it, the Stalker. They were saying that, hey, we weren't going to be there, but here's some like screenshots of like character models, like the detail you're going to see in the game. So so I was wondering if there's any updates that maybe weren't, hey, we're not going to be at the show, but here's some of these games that you've been wondering where they are, going to be, but guess not.
Yeah, this one seemed a little more low key. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't watch it myself either, but yeah, I see like I read the recaps of it. But overall, I mean, yeah, it had said it had showed almost 30 games, 6 titles that were coming to Game Pass. Personally, I would look forward to Stardew Valley. I mean, I hear a lot of good things about that IP, but mostly it's just, yeah, it just seemed like a low key. Hey, we're supporting indies. Look all this variety. Look all these games. I think it was a nice little appetizer, which is fine. It's good. They didn't overhype it, so we can't really fault them for it being like really low key. So it's all good. There's always QuakeCon and Gamescom later on.
What was the presentation? How'd they do it this time? Did they do another?
It was the same kind of
show?
setup. Like,
Really?
I think it was a little bit shorter, maybe like 2.5 to 3 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Because I did catch a bit of the recap, but yeah, it was still Twitch. Like, because again, it's in partnership with Twitch, and they did it with the streamers again. So
they really need to just do it like how, because Switch is a huge place for indies as well. Like that's where indies are doing really great. So I don't know why they don't just do it like that, because people are going like, okay, cool. Like Nintendo really hasn't released much at all news. Like they've only, like they did have a lot at the beginning of the Switch, but like lately, if you just think about it, other than like remasters and stuff like that, they haven't. Maybe I don't know what. Maybe 2019. I'm just trying to think the last, actual big release they've actually had.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I guess that in 2020. I guess that was like the real last one, because they did have like Paper Mario, but that kind of came and went and didn't really recapture a lot of what a lot of the fans of that series
That's so disappointing.
wanted. Like, still, those didn't seem like big ones. Animal Crossing was definitely. But yeah, other than that, if you're not into, because you have to be. I bought Animal Crossing day one. I bought this Animal Crossing Switch. I maybe put 5 hours into that game, just because I was trying to figure out, the economy, and then I was seeing how everybody was like just, tricking the system to do all that. I don't know. I just kind of fell off because that's when Final Fantasy, the remake came out. So, but there's not. You got to be like really somewhat invested in that game. So that one was kind of hard to come back and forth. But indies are really good good pillar for that Switch. And whenever they do those, people like the showcases, people actually like tune in because they know it's not going to be very long, and they can like, oh, cool, that that indie, caught my eye with the Katana Zero or any of those other ones. They really need to just do that, because then no one's gonna like, if this was like, oh, cool, there's like a new 5-minute or 7-minute, 10-minute, whatever indie showcase, kind of like they do at the directs. Cool, you actually go and spend the time to watch it, versus if, hey, it's going to be 2.5 hours. So, no, we're not going to watch it, and then we're just going to look over, Windows Central or look through Twitter, and you're going to miss a lot of the other indies. So something that would have caught your eye, you might not even scroll over because you wouldn't have actually seen it. So, I don't know. They really need to revamp that, but
True.
It's trial and error. They'll learn.
Yeah.
It's getting shorter, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, I mean, they are learning and they're seeing what works and what doesn't. I don't know if they can adjust anything because of their partnership with Twitch at the moment. Who knows how many more of these we'll be seeing down the line. Now, Centurion, I believe you watched the bulk of this stream. What did you think of like the format and the announcements and all that?
Now, I will definitely say, after there was a few times I fast forwarded, but I wasn't a big fan of how they presented it. I'm curious if this is what they were going for. If that's the case, I don't know. See, I'm not here to point fingers and stuff, but I wasn't a big fan of at least one of the hosts. The gentleman who was there, I had never known him before. I really liked how he actually was really great in showing how Xbox with the inclusivity. But it did. I just don't know if I felt the energy from the other host. I just kind of, and then some of the other interviews, I wasn't. I mean, it almost felt like we were doing a podcast like we are right now. At one time, there was a delay in one of the interviews. It seemed like during the interview, one of the developers, there was two developers, but it was mostly one of them talking, and like the other one had to kind of almost interrupt to kind of start interjecting to get her piece in. It almost felt very like the flow hadn't been down. I mean, yes, it's great to involve the streamers, but I mean, I know guys in podcasting will use Invader, for example, that takes it very seriously when we have a developer on or anybody that, from Xbox. I mean, things are laid out in like a map. There's questions that we've all talked about. And it actually almost felt like none of these people didn't have a conversation the night before on how some of these interviews were going to go down. And I'm not trying to say that to be insulting, but it just came off that way. And I mean, at least I just feel like I'm wondering if that's the tone that Xbox was going for. Because I mean, big example, go listen to the Sarah Bond interview and you'll hear somebody pour themselves a drink. Like in the middle of Sarah Bond talking, you hear somebody literally pour a cup of something because it's just Sarah Bond, but you can hear that somebody's mic is open and they're pouring a liquid of some kind.
Right. I hear Timmy there. Timmy, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, I'm assuming you guys are talking about the idea of the Xbox show.
Yeah, that's correct, brother.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Centurion. I felt like the hosts weren't well thought out. They kind of came off trying too hard. I mean, one of them didn't know certain obvious things, like simple. I just felt like they came off. They could have vetted that a little bit differently. I don't know who chose the hosts, but when I saw it, I don't know. It just came off to me as it's just kind of amateur, better quality control there. I mean, the girl was, she was like way over the top. The guy was okay, but he self-admittedly said he doesn't play indies, which I thought was very strange.
Just to say it, because I just remembered in one of the interviews, one of the guys conducting the interview tells the developer, I'll play that game for like 9 seconds and never play it again. And then there's just the silence after saying that. I was like, man, that's like the last thing a developer would ever want to hear.
Wait, they actually said that?
It was because he was talking about speed running the game, and the guy said that he was going to try to speed run the game in 9 seconds and never play it again.
Oh no!
Yeah, and also one of the girl was like, "Oh, I felt that in my butt." That clenched my butt. Like that wasn't what's an interview, but like it was like this over the top, trying too hard. Listen, we're all gamers here. We know when we see gamers, and we know when we kind of feel like something's out of touch. And I thought the show was okay. I just felt like they could have done a little bit better there. I don't know, like I said, why they picked those hosts, but it would have been a lot nicer with like Chala and, somebody, within the Xbox realm handling it, because I just felt like there are people who don't care, or they self-admittedly say they're not interested, or that this is not their thing. You should have somebody who's super passionate, who's super taking it seriously. Like you said, pouring drinks or not knowing the gravity of the situation is just not like, it's not a good look. And they're on such a good momentum. And listen, we're nitpicking here, or we're definitely, this is the stuff that's really, really matters. But I got a lot of feedback from a lot of people, and it was all the same. They felt like the hosts were out of place, trying too hard, overly excited for things that they didn't even know what to be excited for, like, you know, you could tell when somebody's just putting on an act, and I kind of felt like you got that from both of them, and like some of the things that they said, like she didn't know what one game was, and he didn't, like he said, like he was not a fan of indies, he doesn't play them. I mean, if you guys remember when they had the showcase event and Keegley had these people on, they had people like, well, I hate Halo. And the one girl was like, oh, well, that'll be the segment where I go out to use the bathroom or the lavatory.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you come off the wrong way. It's an honor to talk about games. It's an honor to have these people in your presence. And I think they should take that a little bit more seriously. So I'll give them a little bit of a bad review on that front. They could definitely do better. Maybe it's because they're doing the Twitch format, and that's the problem, or they're picking their people. But it is your games, it is your showcase, and I get it that they want the developers to be seen and to have their day in the sun, as you would say.
Mm-hmm.
But you can handle things a little bit differently, be a little bit smarter, and kind of like not like know your audience, know that we're well educated, well versed in this stuff. We don't want people who don't know about video games or who self-admittedly don't know about indies. I'm not the biggest indie guy,
Right.
So I shouldn't be on that show. So why would you have somebody who doesn't like indies on the show? It doesn't make no sense.
Right. And if I may chime in here, guys, like there's nothing wrong with giving constructive criticism so that they can learn from this. They need the feedback. And actually, to be honest, I'm kind of bummed that they didn't really listen to us like the first time around, like in March. I mean, they did have some pretty cool games that they showed off there, but again, there was a lot of criticism on the structure of things with the Twitch streamers and so on, and how much it dragged on. And it's the same thing here. There's nothing wrong with the games per se, but it's just maybe the length and just the general format of it. Now, I agree with you others, Zinc, in the chat. I mean, Sony has done nothing, and Xbox put on like 1 or 2 shows already with indies. The content is there, but again, just like there needs to be some tweaking involved here. And like there's some and there's some other
I want to
comments in here, but yeah, go ahead, man.
No, I just want to say, because, Tim Dog will know who I'm talking about, but when I first got into content creation, some of the best words I heard from an individual I relied on were, that looks like crap and you need to try harder, because that pushed me to try harder and to do better things. I never got in this little world of comfort that basically like Sony got in. And so therefore, I mean, it's really good that Xbox does listen to the criticisms, and I just don't think that we should be, silent with our criticisms. We should just be professional in their delivery.
Yeah. And again, we're not bashing Xbox, and I get it, where others are just not doing anything, but that's not what we should really, use as an excuse for. All we're doing is, like saying how we can make the show more enjoyable or free or flow better next time, because Xbox is awesome enough to keep doing this. It's just that, maybe we don't have to have it be 4 hours, or maybe if we can have better people that are more in touch with the community, or just more in touch with indies itself, like Chris Charlo or somebody like that, handle it would be better. It's just, this is nothing. We're not, putting down Xbox or saying this is doom and gloom. And everyone in this chat and everyone here on this podcast loves Xbox. We're just, I get it, other Zinc, that Sony's not having a show, and it's kind of grimy, and believe me, I voiced that, but you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to be honest with the community. And stuff is completely minor too, but like going into next time, take criticism and make things better, because if you get upset and you say, oh, you don't know anything, you're doing a disservice to yourself. You got a nice little thing going, here. And, they could probably definitely shorten it down, and they could use tweaks here and there. But, overall, it's awesome what they're doing. It's awesome that Xbox is this Game Pass machine and they have these games, and it's great that they're coming. I would say that on content, this show was definitely not as good as the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I saw more games that caught my eye on the first one. But with that being said, there was some stuff that really did catch my eye, and they didn't also go over a lot of the stuff that I think that you and I really, want to see. We want to see. People keep asking about Scorn. They didn't show the gunk. A lot of people want to see that. There's a handful of games that people are really dying to see on the indie side that we didn't get an update. Obviously, Stalker is in ID, but that game looks better than anything like right now. So there's definitely stuff that I thought that was good on the show, and it's awesome that Xbox is has the idea that at Xbox going, because I remember, and I've always pointed this out, the start of the last gen, what was it, 8? They got killed by people because they didn't have ID at Xbox up and running, and people acted like that they were turning their back on the independent community. There was, if you remember, the Phil comment that we want our there was the situation where they had the ID, or they had to incentivize the Xbox port. So if you were going to bring it to a port, it should have something Xbox specific. And there was, quality control. There was all that thing in the beginning. I remember there's a lot of things being said because Phil said he didn't want his gamers to feel like they were second-rate gamers. I don't know. This is really going all the way back. But the point is that they've come from that point to the point where, they're having shows all the time. And the other side was at the point where they're saying, I love indies, and having big showcases on the floor and getting universal love by media and alike, to basically turning their backs on indies. And, it's pretty much known and reported on that, they don't really have, they're not really pushing that. They're pushing their huge IPs and other stuff as opposed to this. So, I'm thankful that Xbox, and I'm not the biggest indie guys as well, and I self-admit that, but I'm grateful that they have this up and running, and they're pushing all this content and all these shows and all this stuff that's coming. It's great that Xbox is out there doing that.
Now, we'll be talking about a different convention later on, but Xbox has been teasing with the announcement of their Gamescom conference later, or stream, I should say, later this month. Actually, maybe 2 weeks from now, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to be getting updates for already known titles. So I'm just going to assume that, I have high hopes that a bunch of the indie games that were not showcased at this Idea at Xbox event, I'm kind of hoping that they're at the Gamescom event, because for games that we already know about, such as Scorn or The Gunk, and there's a few others as well that go under that banner. It's just there's been, some of them have been kind of absent, so I would like to see them come out, sometime soon. So Gamescom should be a good platform for that. It's amazing, the amount of different, events and streams that they're holding right now. Again, like Tim was saying, a couple of years ago, guys, we wouldn't have seen that. We wouldn't have seen that at all. So for them to be this active it's just really impressive. And again, I really like the fact that they do all this stuff, and it's not so much to be negative, guys. It's just, again, you need to give some feedback to them. I know I do see some frustration in the chat, like Six Slayer there, that are we being listened to? Yeah, you know what? We are being listened to, and you know what? You'd be surprised who listens to a lot of these community-driven shows. Yeah, just putting it out there.
Yeah, I think that, and I think I wanted to say something, but I do think that Twitch partnership has a lot to do with maybe with the feedback not getting heard. I mean, I think that they have their way of doing things, and I think Xbox is kind of working around that. But what were you trying to say, MLD? I heard you trying to say something.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say. Well, either way, I think in the end we can say constructive things here and there, but I think everyone knows that it's all nitpicks in the end, and I think we can all recognize that. I mean, we're just spoiled compared to last gen.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have all these conferences. Like we have 3 conferences in this month alone. I think we all end the day. If our biggest problem is nitpicking the structure of the conference, I think we're in pretty good shape as fans of the brand. So That's all.
Oh, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that one. No, Xbox is in a good place. It's a very healthy place. So no complaints. Like you said, maybe some nitpicks, but just something to improve upon. But yeah, guys, again, we're live right now, so hey, you guys in the chat, you people listening right now, share this sucker out, give a like, and be active in the chat. We like it when you guys talk amongst each other. There's a lot of good banter going on there in the chat, but definitely share this link out and get notification out there about the show. Next up on deck, we got an announcement for an update to Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. And it's an optimization patch for the Xbox Series consoles. It brings a whole bunch of different goodies, updates such as DirectX ray tracing for the Series consoles, increased textures, particle quality, all that fancy stuff, better performance, and chapter selection. Ooh, I know, fancy, right? But it's a pretty nice update here. Centurion Bud, I can't remember. Did you play Hellblade at all? I honestly can't remember if you did or not.
Sadly, I am one of those who have not played Hellblade yet. I played for a few minutes to check it out, and yeah, it ended up in my backlog. But I'm excited that there's this update because this is going to be pretty much the best way to play the game. This game is pretty much next in line for me to start playing after I'm done with Days Gone. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely shows how Microsoft is still not charging for these updates. I saw some really good GIFs going around or photos on Twitter of a director's cut for the PS5 version of Hellblade 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a very good one that got me laughing. And it's not to poke fun, but I did tweet out, and because now all of a sudden it's anti-consumer and this, that, and the other. And it's not anti-consumer. It's what Xbox is doing with their first-party studio. They are doing what they normally do, giving their customers an update free of charge. They are showing the performance of their products. There is features that are only available on the Series X version of the game. And I mean, this totally kind of it's going to stand the console out, showing out that even though some games are going to show up on the PlayStation side, you're still going to get the version on the Xbox side, and especially on the Series X. This is pretty cool that they're. I mean, what more could you say about this? I mean, it was totally out of left field. Almost like a little bit of a sock to the jaw to some people. Excuse the expression, but I mean, there is some people definitely that felt a certain way about this.
Yeah, I mean, I saw I saw a lot of criticism. Well, why isn't it 4K 60 with ray tracing? And some negativity towards that. But I mean, if you really think about it, if the game was ported, it'd be the same exact settings on PlayStation 5. Also, a thing of note that this was done by, I believe the studio was QLOC or some type of third-party studio that helped out with the update. So it was a third party that helped out. I saw some people trying to go after, the studio, saying this is the quality of ray tracing, real stupid stuff, because their piece of plastic was omitted. PC port is planned later. It was a nice thing. Listen, as console owners and Xbox people, we should get treats like this. This is why you invested all the money that you did. You have to have exclusivity, and you have to have certain things that make people want to play your system. And with that, I think there was an update that they had up 5 million players, which is, I think it was even higher than that. But overall, listen, I booted it up, I played it. It looks unbelievable. There is definitely a difference. I remember playing this game. I finished this game. So it's not something that I'm new to it. I remembered it, and it is definitely an improvement. And if you haven't played this game, oh, you're in for a treat. Now, with that, I will say my overall feel of Hellblade was it was a really good game. I had the puzzles annoy me, or they annoyed me, and I was really liked the combat. And one of the things that I think that I said was that I wish there was more combat, less puzzles, and it looks like in Hellblade 2 it's going to be the swift way around. The voice acting was pretty good. Silly at sometimes I felt, but the game is a great game. The game impressively done by. You look at that game and realize that only 20 people did this game, and they did something that even myself said that would never happen. They took a game and they were an independent developer, and they, with a small team, and they basically made a AAA with, let's be honest, without what you need to make a AAA. You need people, you need the devs. They did something that was extraordinary here, and I'm just glad that they're getting celebrated. And if you have an Xbox and you have the Series X or S, this is why you buy your console. This is a treat for you, and I'm glad that Xbox did that. And listen, if they had a PlayStation 5 port, I wouldn't have been upset, but I kind of just like that they're prioritizing the Xbox gamer. And I think that for a long time, and a lot of criticism was levied at Xbox from a lot of fans in this chat, all over Twitter, and to me, because I usually, sometimes can talk to people, or maybe, some people think that I have a loud voice that's heard. We need to be prioritized. We need to be given things that make us feel good about owning our, console of choice. And I'm just glad that Xbox really is on board with that. I worried that they were going to have Starfield, be multi-plat, and, just go with this utopia of gaming type thinking that, we don't need exclusives. But obviously you look at, just look at the reaction. People were legit pissed, and I feel bad for them, but by the flip coin, you can, either wait for a PC point, or you could play it on xCloud, on Game Pass. But people really wanted this update, and the people that got it were happy for it. And like I said, this is something that needs to be done for, Xbox console gamers in general, because we need to get perks. We need to, we spend a lot of money, and we do a lot of things that benefit Xbox, and it's good to have this stuff come back, and and us being treated with stuff like that. So I was very happy the way it went down, and some of the stuff levied, like I said, at the developers was stupid. But that's just, because the game wasn't on their console, and that's the stupid stuff with that. But overall, it was a big response, and a lot of happy people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have Hellblade. I played it all the way through a couple of years back. Pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly. I mean, like you said, Tim, very small team that created it. And that game just screamed quality, from the facial animations, the detail on the characters. I couldn't get away with it. They put so much effort into Senua's expressions and obviously the voice acting. The combat I thought could use, a little more variety and work, but again, small team, can only do so much. I understand. The puzzles, yeah, they could be a little annoying at times. I'll be honest, I didn't mind them as much, but I can definitely see where you're at on that one. But otherwise, yeah, this is a nice surprise, and I really hope they do this with more Xbox IP down the line. Because I think it's pretty important for Xbox to not only preserve these titles going forward, their own IP, but also showcase them on these brand new platforms, these consoles, the Series X and S. But it's funny too that, again, this announcement, this update just came out of nowhere. Do you guys think that we'll be hearing anything about Hellblade 2 with Gamescom around the corner?
I don't think so. I think Aaron Greenberg said something to set expectations right. He said it was only for games coming out this year, which narrows down the window as to what to expect. So I think, yeah, you said it before. I think we'll see things like Crossfire X, Gunk, Scorn, Halo Infinite, hopefully a release date for that, mostly for that. But going back to Hellblade, I mean, you guys got to indulge me here. Like, you guys all said all your opinions on Hellblade. I mean, that game was one of my favorite surprises in games overall of last generation. Admittedly, I did cheat with the puzzles. My wife wanted to watch the playthrough, and she helped me with the puzzles. That's her thing. The combat was mine. But the narratively, that game was just amazing. All the voices in the head, like just how those guys are just geniuses. And I think this will be a good long-term thing, because I think people will play Hellblade leading up to Hellblade 2's release. And Xbox being the best version, I think that's going to, I mean, only good things can come from that. And I do get the frustration from the other side. I mean, this should have been like a surprise, positive news, feel good about it. Like, I mean, like, it's win-win. But I get it, because it was time exclusive on PlayStation 4. They technically supported it first, and now not only do they not get the update, but they don't get the sequel. So I get that, but in the end of the day, it's show business. I mean, Xbox, they got the rights. They got to give the fan service. They got to give the Xbox gamers like a reason to stick around and keeping the engagement up. It just is what it is. But I think, yeah, this is only the beginning. Again, I think there will be a spike in Hellblade gameplay. Like people playing the game and discovering it in the months and even weeks up to Hellblade 2's release. So it was a nice surprise drop.
Shockley, buddy, I don't know if you've ever tried Hellblade at all. Have you taken a look at the update for it?
I haven't taken a look at that update other than what I saw on Twitter. I played through it a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's really nice that it's showing like a continuation of their first party, giving like 120 FPS updates. So say what you will with what they've been able to do with the like ray tracing. Obviously that one is smaller, and this one wasn't even like the first party studio that was doing it or doing the update. But yeah, still nice nonetheless, because I think Halo's 120. I don't know if Forza Horizon, if they announced if it's at 120, but that one might be a little bit more understandable. Yeah, it's open world, but
there's no support right now for 120 for Forza Horizon. But yeah, I mean, 120 for Hellblade is that's crazy.
That's phenomenal.
That's really impressive stuff.
Yeah, because I don't know of any first party like PlayStation games that even offer 120 on the PS5. I don't think there is any.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Returnal didn't have
Ratchet
it.
Didn't. Spider-Man would be the one that you would want to have it as an option.
Yeah,
just because of the fluidity. But I guess that might be harder because it's more.
Is there any? There's not one game that has
there's
120?
There's Neo, but it's not first party. But
interesting.
The Neo collection. But yeah, because I'm looking at the list that was updated as of August 3rd, and yeah, none of them are first party that are on their platform.
Interesting. Well, either way, I mean, it's fantastic what they're doing with Hellblade. I will probably start downloading if I haven't already, the update for Hellblade tonight and give it a go tomorrow, because I'm very curious how this sucker runs, and I've only been hearing good things, so I'm definitely one of those people looking forward to Hellblade 2. I can't wait to see what Ninja Theory's got cooking up behind there. So lots to look forward to, fellas. All right, I think on that note, we'll move over to some other bits of news, and next week we'll be treated to QuakeCon. It's, for those who don't know, it's a show dedicated to id Software and other Bethesda and, well, former ZeniMax, like, studio content. Of course, we'll be seeing stuff from Deathloop, Doom, Elder Scrolls Online, all that content. However, what's catching everyone's attention is the joint id Software and Machine Games Quake panel to kick things off. Now, MLD, we've been hearing rumors of a new game announcement here. What are your chances? What do you think are the chances that we'll be seeing a new Quake game revealed here?
Well, I did some research on this, did a crash course in the IP. It looks like it was removed, but the words were revitalized edition of Quake or something along those lines. And it really got me thinking here. I'm going to go with the best case scenario, and I guess just work my way down. And even if a fraction is going to be true, then either way, it's a win either way. Because I think if they're smart, they want to put all of the Quake games on Game Pass, whether it's PC Game Pass, console Game Pass, all that stuff. Quake 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think there's even a game called Quake Champions that came out in 2018, I think. Yeah, so they should do that at the very least. But it could be what is it? It could be a collection of all of them remastered. That'd be a little bit of a long shot, but remaster with some touches to make the gameplay a little more modern. But I think overall it's a good move because arena shooters, they're making a little bit of a resurgence. Obviously, Halo Infinite, that's an arena shooter right there. Obviously, Quake plays it a bit different. It's more simple. It's all about strafing, moving, but it's still all about map control, getting the power weapons, teamwork, which is what arena shooters is all about. Let's see. I mean, Quake 1. I did a crash course. Quake 1 was good for its time in graphics, but the campaign didn't really age well. Same goes for Quake 2. Although Quake 2 was an improvement, the multiplayer is, however, where the game really shined. And Quake 3, that was a multiplayer only game. Maybe they might bring that back. And let's see, Quake 4. Quake 4 should be on Game Pass. It should be on the backwards compatibility list because that did a full story-based campaign as well as the multiplayer. Overall, I think it'd be great for a couple of reasons. For number one, I mean, I don't want. I hate doing this. The air quotes here, Game Pass fodder, but I know some people might label it as such, but. I mean, it'll be an evergreen multiplayer game. And Xbox gamers, I feel like we just naturally gravitate more towards first-party multiplayer. We welcome it. We want it. We like the variety. So, hey, it's another new game. It's probably might be, 2022? I'd be surprised if it was this year. But, hey, more games the better. And we can always use another addictive multiplayer arena shooter. So, I'm optimistic. It might not be everything that I'm hoping for, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting back into this series. I played a little bit of it back in the day, but I'm hoping that they make it modern and make it back into the spotlight. So only good things can come from this.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few. I mean, obviously we'll find out very soon, but I mean, there's a few ways you can look at this too. I come from the side that. You look at the two studios, you got id Software, and then you got Machine Games. Machine Games' pedigree is in single-player titles, right? Single-player, first-person titles, Wolfenstein and so on. That's their strength. I don't know them for multiplayer by any means. I was actually even surprised just to hear their name come up, because I thought that they would be busy working on Wolfenstein 3 and of course Indiana Jones as well. So they're a pretty busy studio if they're involved with a Quake game as well. I would say I wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, you do bring up an interesting point where they could do a collection of sorts and bring it all to Game Pass. That would be fantastic. Wouldn't be surprised if Machine Games did a single player portion, like a campaign kind of a thing, and it did the multiplayer component, like for a new Quake title.
Yeah, that make a lot of sense actually. And I remember reading something. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's one of the main guys at Machine Games, and he did an interview. I'm really sorry, guys. I know, but I know there's a link out there. I read it like just the other day. He said that he always wanted to make a contribution to Quake because it was a big part of his life, like growing up back in the day, and that he's excited to be just a part of that IP, and now he has the chance to work on it. So I think for some people at Machine Games, maybe it's a small team breaking off of the main titles, but it definitely seems like the guy part of the Machine Games is definitely a passion project to this guy. And I think, now that you said it, I think you might be onto something. Since they're more used to the single-player games, they can maybe revitalize the campaign, make that a little more modern, because I think the old Quake games, the single-player games have aged rather poorly by today's standards. So maybe they can do that. Well, id does what they do best and stick to the multiplayer. Well, I mean, obviously, you don't make like Doom are good single player games, but back in the day, it was good for multiplayer. So that's actually a pretty good setup. I hope that's true.
Mm-hmm. No, totally, man. Centurion, do you have any thoughts on this matter? I don't know if you have a history with the Quake series at all. What do you think could be coming out of this?
I will be absolutely honest. I do not know much about Quake. That's why I've been kind of listening to everybody else talk about it. It's a game I never got into, so that's where that's kind of why I've been silent. I don't have too much to put onto it because I really don't know what Quake is.
Well, it's an arena shooter, pretty much, or at least the multiplayer segment is anyways. But
or if you played like Unreal, kind of somewhere in that vein.
Oh, Unreal Tournament, yeah, it's similar multiplayer, I guess.
Mm-hmm. No, have not played that one either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it has potential to be. I remember when it came out. I think it was the start of last generation. It was a pretty big game, but or I always get it confused with Unreal Tournament, but. It's another great IP that Xbox owns, and be nice to see them utilize it. And it could be it could just be. It doesn't have to be a single player game. It could be what it is at its at its core, a multiplayer shooter, and it could be definitely something that they add and. Wouldn't be that it doesn't have to be a huge AAA. It could just be, like I said, it could be what it is at its core, and looking forward to what they have plans for it. I don't know if that's the game that they're rumoring the new engine around. I know that they have there's a new engine that the Cinemax Online is going to be using. If it's that, that's great, but it's gonna, there's something definitely in the works for that. And there's big stuff coming, that we're going to find out about. I don't know. I to be honest, I think at Gamescom, it's going to be the biggest thing to me is, how they're going to handle Halo and if we're going to get a release date. I think there'll be some cool stuff there. You might get some Game Pass news. You might get some updates on some current games, or maybe even something. Well, they didn't say anything for next year, but it all really, if they're going to show the campaign, that would be a real big an eye opener. I don't think that they're going to do that. I think they're going to be a little bit more cagey about it because of how well that the flight went. They might announce the flight, and they also might announce the release date. That's what I think could happen here, and it'll be a nice, neat show. I like the host. They announced Paris is going to be doing the show.
Right.
So they have some stuff planned. It's not going to be a huge show, but again, it's very nice that they're attending this after they had such a big E3 and they threw a lot of money at E3. They could, just say, we'll do, we'll cover it and we'll have a post game show or whatever like that. But it looks like they're, going, ahead with business. They're going ahead, and it's a very good thing. Another thing to look out for, which I have kind of because of COVID, I have my, hesitation about, but are we going to get XO 19 or 2022? Are they planning that? And if they are planning that, I could see them saying that they're going to have that and maybe give us an idea about that, or if there's going to be another game show to end out the year. So it depends on, those are the things that I think that you should look for. It's going to be centralized this year. Maybe we can get updates on the Gunk game like Shredders. I think that already has I think it has a release date. But the big thing, like I said, is Halo. How they're going to handle it, if they're going to handle it, and if they're going to go as far as showing the campaign. Because if they do show the campaign, it's going to be very interesting because you will definitely see marked improvement, but it could also say, people will say, oh, it's the same thing, this and that. Because that's what I was worried about E3 is that there was murmuring about that too, that, there was echoing about that it wasn't that much better than the showing of at the showcase last year. But I do think that the game is markedly improved, and I think that the multiplayer and the flight really got this, the show right, the whole entire 343 back on its feet with a ton of momentum. So how they're going to handle that is the big question. Are they going to show campaign? If they're not going to show campaign, are we getting a release date? And if they do not show campaign, we do get a release date, are they going to have a game show that they're going to talk about, or are they going to have some future plans for something else where they can kind of show off the game?
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll show Forge. I mean, that's just my own personal hunch. I feel like they're showing different parts of the game for every time they do have new details emerge.
Yeah.
I think Forge might be a great a new addition to open up our eyes on that and
Yeah.
how they're improving that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be smart, and that would put like I said, that would take a lot of pressure off, because I do feel like there is a little bit of pressure on them showing a segment of the game like they did running, because of just, they might be a little, gun shy because of what happened last showcase when you had the whole Craig incident and, the way that went down. Now they have a bunch of momentum. Forge, like you said, would be probably perfect. And a lot of people are into that. Or maybe even Warzone. Are they going to have a Warzone type? What is the plan for that? I know they're not going to have a Battle Royal, but didn't they have with Halo 5, they had a firefight? Maybe they'll have the firefight.
Maybe that. I did think they just said Big Team Battle 2.0 or whatever that means.
There was a tease about that, but they haven't really expanded upon that yet. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe it relates to Forge too, because I just it kind of dawned on me the other day too, because they have bots in multiplayer right now. It would be cool to again make your own forgeable I don't know, kind of like battle scenarios in with AI in Forge. I just think that kind of opens things up. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see Firefight. They've been kind of quiet talking about Firefight, if I'm not mistaken. They could do an expanded update in one of these seasons or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. They've been kind of quiet on a few things. I would love to see Firefight come back. I'm a big fan of that mode, but yeah, they've been kind of quiet. Forge, I'm not a Forge guy, but I know a lot of people. There's a very dedicated fan base and community to that, so I know that they're really looking forward to seeing some content there. So I think that Gamescom would be a perfect place for that. Yeah, I mean, let's get a release date finally. I'm predicting. I'm still sticking to my date of my. Oh, what is it? I had it here, of November 30th. We'll see about that. I think it gives some nice space between Call of Duty supposedly coming out like the first week of November. Forza, doesn't Forza come out the second week if I'm not mistaken? Something like that.
It's coming the 8th.
Yeah, the 8th. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So second week. So
well, Rand thinks it's going to be the 23rd. I don't see them going into December, so I think the 23rd or the 30th is an idea, and I do think that we will be the Ultimate Edition, where they have early access. Well, they'll get people like myself to spend money on it because I have to have it day one. But yeah, I think that you're right in the ballpark of where it's gonna hit, and where Call of Duty is gonna hit if it hits. They would kind of want to avoid each other.
Oh yeah. Now, guys, it's interesting. Going back to QuakeCon and our discussion on Quake, I just found apparently Bethesda had removed a description, and this is what it says: Quake is back. In this special stream, John Lindman of Digital Foundry talks to Jerk Gustafson of Machine Games about the iconic legacy of the title and what it meant to both of them. The pair will also discuss the additional content that Machine Games has contributed to this revitalized edition. Ooh.
That's right. Yep. I think that's the guy that I was talking about before, who did this we want to contribute as a passion project. Yeah, that's the guy's name, Jerk.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the guy's name. We're not calling him a jerk. That's his name, guys.
Yes, it's his name. Yeah.
Yeah, and that sounds about right because they do pre-record. And that sounds like that's planned. So whatever was pulled, that's definitely real, I would say. So that's where you get some of the information. So that's a nice tidbit you picked up there. Definitely sounds real because that's the way they usually do it. They got Digital Foundry, when they did a bunch of their stuffs, when they reviewed the system, they fly John in or Richard, and then they pre-record and they handle it. So yeah, I would think that they're probably recording pretty shortly.
Yeah, that's right. And even our buddy over at Xbox Era, Special Nick there, a few months ago he had put out something, and it looks like it's lending some extra credibility to this because he had some details on it. And this is what he said: "I was told that a new Quake game is reportedly in development. I think maybe a few studios are involved. I don't think it's just id. I think maybe it's Machine Games. The other things I've been told is that it reportedly has a female lead. I asked if there's single player or multiplayer. Is it both? And apparently it's both. It will have single player and multiplayer. It looks like it's a full Quake game." So, I mean, if he was talking about this a couple of months ago, and he seems to have nailed a few of the details, like Machine Games and a few other things. I don't know, guys. I mean, it's just like there's a lot of things adding up here. So we could have a really nice, sweet Xbox announcement next week, right? So it's not even Gamescom.
Well, that'd be huge if true. So something to keep an eye out on. Good memory there, and good putting pieces together. It's fun, even to just to think what it could be. But yeah, that's interesting. And I was just saying 10 minutes ago, I'm fine with it just being multiplayer, but sign me up if you want to have a single player on that. You can't. Quake is a good IP.
Yeah,
and I think it's something that they could leverage.
Right. Shockley, I know you were talking a bit about Quake there. Did you ever play Quake back in the day?
I think it was. I'm trying to think, but I'm probably confusing it with Unreal Tournament on the PS2. I think that was the last. Because I don't know. I'm thinking Quake came because I had the PS2 early on in its first year. I think it was either Quake or Unreal that came out in that first year when there was like no games for the PlayStation for the PS2.
Yeah, I think Unreal. You're thinking Unreal.
Yeah, I think it's Unreal.
I'm doing the same mistake as too. I always confuse them.
Yeah, I don't know if I've played. I may have played a Quake after that, but I didn't play it on the 360 or that one that came out, and the ones that were on Xbox, like the Unreal Championship ones. I got my OG Xbox modded with like all of the games on there, so I definitely should give it a go since it's not backwards compatible. But some of those other games, but yeah, unfortunately, I did not get into the Quake. But from what I've played from Doom, if it's anywhere in that like kind of movement, like fast paced, arena type shooter, definitely be cool to see a next gen version of that. So I'm definitely down for it. So definitely from playing some of their other games. So from that studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, just for accessibility, I would assume going into Game Pass day one, and that'd be fantastic. You can get a lot of people trying it out, and you gotta look at the market right now too. You had a game like Slipgate right now, an indie game that was drawing all kinds of attention. People were overloading the servers for weeks on end. They had to get extra help in order just to deal with the sheer magnitude, the volume of people trying the game. For you guys that don't know, Slipgate, it's this fast-paced arena shooter, kind of in the same vein of, a lot of people compare it to a mix of Halo and Portal. And man, when I tried it, it's a fantastic arena shooter. And I don't know, there seems to be like a slight resurgence in the whole arena shooter kind of environment. So for this game to come out, I mean, presumably if there's an announcement, there seems to be one. I don't know. I think that it would be the right time for it to strike, right? And they could revitalize. I mean, can you imagine if they were to revitalize Quake in the same way as Doom? Holy crap! I mean, Xbox would have another successor on their hands there, another successful franchise. And it just, again, they would have so much in their stable as far as like even just first person shooters go. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. But we'll keep our eyes peeled on that one, guys. As far as Quake is concerned, QuakeCon, I know I'll be watching this sucker, and it's gonna be a good time for Xbox fans. All right, guys, I think we'll move on to the last bit of news for the evening. And Xbox's Phil Spencer did an interview with media outlet GamesRadar. And one big takeaway from it, there was a few different conversations going on here, but there was a certain conversation around if Xbox would copy Sony with their style of single-player games. I'll directly read a quote from what Phil said. Phil stated that our strategy is not to go and be like someone else. I get a push sometimes of, where's your version of this or that game? And I've been in the industry for a long time. I have a ton of respect for creators on all platforms, and I know many, many of them. But it's good if we're doing something different than what other platforms are doing. We're not in the business of just trying to create a green version of somebody else's blue or red colored platform. That's not the example of creativity that I want to see in the game industry. I mean, I find this a very telling kind of a quote because, again, you look at what Phil is saying here, and again, he's very passionate about the Xbox platform. He wants to bring something new here. But Tim, what do you think of Phil's comments here? Do you think that he has the right attitude on Xbox, just doing, again, its own thing?
Yeah, I think that they shouldn't. I think they should run how they want to do their business, the way they want to do their business, and they shouldn't let anything dictate to them what they should do. I know for the longest time people said, well, they should, model themselves after Sony and do what Sony does. they have different, ideologies, I think, overall. But yeah, I have no problem. I think with Xbox has shown within the last year, and even the release of the console and the design and how they went about things, very happy with their, what they're doing and how they're going about it. So I agree. I don't think that, I think they should, do what they want and do what they think is best. And if that means to have more multiplayer games, then so be it. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think there was a time where a lot of things were different, and sure, they were lacking in certain areas like single player, story driven games. But that's not the case anymore. If anything, they might have too many of them now. So. They have a ton of content coming and a ton of variety, a ton of different ideas, ton of different developers doing different things. I don't even think the question's relevant anymore. They should do what they want and go about it the way they want and how they want.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people are taking this comment out of context. Maybe they want to use their own perspective on it. But I think he's just saying like, what Xbox is already, what we already know, like based on all the games that are announced and in development. They're doing smaller budget games. They're doing big budget games. They're doing the single player, third person, story driven action adventure games like Hellblade 2, but also single player Western RPGs like Starfield and Avowed and Outer Worlds 2. They're also doing first person shooters like Halo. They're doing racers, both arcade and sim. They're doing strategy games like Gears Tactics, Age of Empires. They're doing their own thing. They're marching to the beat of their own drum. Will they give us more? Do people want more third-person single-player games? Sure, and they're doing that. But that's not all they're doing. And I think that's ultimately my interpretation of what he was trying to say. In the end, I do like this direction. Variety is great. There's something for everybody. I think even if you only like a fraction of what's coming out, there's still more than enough good games to go around based on all this diversity.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Centurion, do you have any comments on what Phil was saying?
Well, I could. Let's just say, who really wants to be known as the person who copied somebody? That's almost like, you never want to be like, remember in school, you've got caught copying someone else's work, you kind of got almost made fun of and also ridiculed by your teacher. So it's like, why would we want him to copy PlayStation or Nintendo? I've always loved how Xbox does their own things. They allow their developers to have a massive amount of freedom compared to other developers under different umbrellas. I don't see, like, how fitting would that be? Because, like, just to put it as like, where is Phil Spencer's answer for Uncharted? Well, I could definitely say that there isn't an Indiana Jones style game yet on the Xbox console, but was I, completely distraught that there wasn't one on the Xbox console? No, there's plenty of other story-driven, narrative-based games that are very well put together on Xbox. And that's where I don't really see that they have to duplicate a formula. Like, I make fun of PlayStation for, it's like they get some of these guys in a boardroom from the different developers that they have, and it's like, all right, guys, we want a box in our game that we can push around. We really want tight over the shoulder third person perspective. It almost feels like they're kind of like passing out a base formula of stuff that PlayStation seems to think is, like, I've referred to as the McDonald's of gaming. You can put the burger together in different ways using different toppings, but at the end of the day, it's still a meat patty between two buns, and that's not what we get from Xbox.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, again, you look at their lineup, and it's just, there's a complete variety in it. Before, again, Xbox fans always used to hear the same thing. Halo, Gears, Forza, and sometimes like Fable was thrown into the mix. now we have, now Xbox basically dominates the Western RPG market with Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wasteland, Fable, Avowed, Starfield. Again, those are just first-person mostly first-person RPGs, but RPGs in themselves, Western RPGs. You have all these different varied indie titles, such as Tunic, 12 Minutes, what else? There's Way of the Woods. I'm just scrolling through a list right now. Song of Iron, our buddy Joe Winter there with his dark, Viking game. We have sports game like Shredders, She Dreams Elsewhere, Scorn, which we talk a lot about on this channel, Sable, Psychonauts 2 is coming in a couple of weeks. We just had The Medium back in January, although that's going to PlayStation now. Lake, and so on. There's a lot of titles, and then again, that's not even counting a whole bunch of other stuff. It's amazing.
If I can add on real quick, what PlayStation and Xbox have their own styles. At this point, let the fork in the road happen. And this is where some people are probably going to cap some shots at me for saying this, but Xbox is being the game. Well, we do games. If we look at PlayStation, we do theatrics, we do entertainment, we do cinema-based experiences as the bulk of what we do. And they do it quite well. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, haven't played it yet, still plan to get it. Looks just like a DreamWorks Pixar presentation movie. Really looks beautiful. Looks like something I am going to enjoy, no doubt. But let's look at PlayStation just bought Crunchyroll. They have their eyes on a total different prize. They want games that have validity in the entertainment world. They want culture-based games like Attack on Titan and stuff like that. They're not looking to go down the road of basically bring all the developers to me and we will have all these great indie games on a Game Pass platform that everybody can tap into. PlayStation is chasing a total different carrot at this point in time.
Yeah, well said and excellent points, and right on the money. I just feel that Xbox should be afforded some confidence. They should be afforded some respect at this point. With the acquisitions of Bethesda, with the way they handled the launch, with what they're doing, the way they had E3, the way that they've handled everything. The studios that they've purchased in addition to Bethesda. Seriously, what do you want Phil to say? Oh, we're going to do everything like Sony does. They have different goals. They have different ideas of what they want to be or where they want to be. Like Centurion said, they want to be, Sony wants to be entertainment relevant, whether it's Spider-Man or certain things like that. They have their idea, and it's a pretty good plan, sure. But they both can have good plans, and for whatever reason, I'm so sick of Phil getting these questions that are lingering from last gen when they had only 4 studios and Microsoft could do away with the whole entire division because they were a cloud company and they need to have some type of a reason to own Xbox, and they were struggling to even find that reason, to a point where you have Satya on TV talking about how he loves video games, which he doesn't really know a lot about, let's be honest, and wearing a Halo Infinite sweater and saying we're all in. Basically what he was saying is you got my wallet, do your thing. You know what I mean? He realizes that there is a ton of potential. COVID, the whole thing with COVID obviously spiked everything and made gaming even that more relevant. I just think it's time to give Phil a little leeway on that whole aspect. And the single player game. Basically, at one point, Xbox wasn't in the position to make single player games with the amount of market share that they had, because they couldn't turn a profit on it. And I think that was what the problem with Quantum Break was, is that they knew they weren't going to get the sales to recoup the money, and that was, you don't want to lead development into something that's going to ultimately fail. And that's why Phil had comments about single player and how the market, or the overall, the business model is faulted, and it is. You have to sell 5 to 7 million copies now just to recoup your budget costs. And
can I add on to that just real quick?
Sure.
Well, I think it's really going into, everybody started calling the golden age of gaming because of Xbox buying Bethesda and all this stuff. We're seeing a lot of indie developers starting to blur the lines between indie development and AAA development. I mean, some of these games look just as good as companies with massive budgets. And that is because technology is coming out now that is allowing these indie developers to basically create these experiences to have to not throw all this money at it. I read an article just recently about how the HTC Vive, the VR headset, actually is being used for a cheaper form of motion capture. It can produce the same effects, it can do the exact same thing, but for a fraction of the price. And that's turning some heads. I mean, we're going to start seeing developers now using motion capture that can never afford it before because it was just too damn expensive. And I mean, that's totally where I totally don't know how I was getting this into the conversation, Tim Dog, but it just goes into like, I would like, that the budget for these experiences are going to go down. So you could see Xbox want to do it again.
Oh, well, obviously now it's a different ballgame. When I was talking, I'm talking about circa 2017, Quantum Break. Now it's a totally different ballgame. Now you have the business model of Game Pass behind it being a service, it being subsidized by a lot of other things that now Xbox is going to have a ton of single player games. But I just feel like these people who fish for these questions, are in that mindset. It's not like that anymore. You should know where gaming's at this moment. Know where Microsoft's at. Microsoft's in a different place. They have Game Pass. That's unbelievably going to be unbelievably successful. They have the future pretty much they're well set up for the future, and they don't have to be Sony. That's my point. Is that I kind of feel like these questions are like they want to make it are you going to mimic what Sony does? Are you going to have the Last of Us 2? No, we're going to have Halo. We're going to have Starfield. We're going to have our own stuff. You know what I mean? And you know what? It might have a multiplayer too. And, like Halo, it might be completely different, or it could be different, all types of different things. And they don't have to be connected in any way. I think that Sony and Microsoft can both be very successful with different approaches, whether Xbox is using Game Pass and or Sony's using big motion picture type deals, models with Spider-Man and these huge games that make huge money, So, I don't think there's anything wrong. I think if anything, the extent is how far really the question people should be asking Phil is, how far are you going to go? Are you buying more studios? Are you really going to blow this out? Because right now, Xbox is in a real position of power of making games. And my thing is I would love to really know when's enough going to be enough for Phil and Microsoft, or is that just something that they're going to keep growing? Because I still get the feeling that they're going to expand even more. And, it might become to a point where people are going to start to have to ask Sony some questions like, how are you going to compete with this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's a fair question too. But again, it's been a lot of the time the media asking Microsoft these kinds of questions and Xbox personnel. But again, what if the conversation was reversed, to Sony? Where's your, why aren't you copying Microsoft or Xbox when it comes to racing games? Why aren't you doing the big multiplayer games? Why aren't you getting the indie support that you used to? It just seems like a one-sided conversation in a lot of ways. And the Xbox personnel, like Phil, I mean, they must be getting tired of answering some of these questions too.
So. I mean, no one wants just the same thing from the other company. That's not what's going to sell. It's going to be like new, different experiences. It's like when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, it was something, kind of completely different that we hadn't seen. Like, oh, someone made, robot dinosaurs and more of a, and it was still kind of like in a prehistoric, well, not prehistoric, but a future, like kind of felt prehistoric, and the tools and the other technology that they had. But that was something that was cool and different. So no one wants that exact same thing. So, they wouldn't, if Microsoft made like a post-apocalyptic, like some virus, game, and it was kind of like The Last of Us, no one's like sure if like it was like really good and told a just somewhat different story, like it could be cool, but it's not going to probably have the same draw, because it's going to be something that it's going to get stale, even though it might be a new IP. It's going to be, if you just think about like people getting, tired of playing, Gears and wanting like, the Coalition to tackle new IP or what have you. Like, it's just going to get stale if you're just trying to copy somebody else's success to like a T. And they're giving their studios creativity or creative freedom. So stick to their strengths, what you brought them on board for, because you obviously saw stuff behind the scenes of that you really liked with Avowed or whatever Compulsion may have ideas they had under store. And then I remember his comments in that same article that got kind of taken out of context, which was they're here they are begging for PlayStation and Nintendo to allow Game Pass. But when you actually read the quote, he literally says the opposite.
Right.
He says those platforms, Game Pass doesn't exist there because those two don't, they don't want it. And that's fine, because we have the rest of the market. We have PC, we have console. We're branched out onto every platform. And think about it, they'll be on more platforms. Their games will be accessible to more platforms or more devices, just in general, more gamers than at any point in their existence. With PC, mobile, Xbox, obviously they're going to be streaming to Xbox platforms that, for non-cross-gen games. And they'll be on the new Xbox Series platform. So, like, they're going to be okay. They're not... people keep... And it's like some of these other... people keep putting out those, like, UK sales charts to, like, this is... And I just saw another one. 7% of the UK physical sales of Hades, 7% was Xbox. And then they're like 93% was PlayStation platforms. Not saying that, 70% was like PS5, 23% was PS4. Well, why is 23% of it only on PS4? Don't they have like over 100 million consoles sold? Compared to that, still, if you want to conjoin the whole of the Xbox, it's still double. So why is it only 23% versus like exactly? It's just kind of a dumb argument, especially when they say like 7%. No one knows what does that number represent. You can't just say out percentages when you don't know what that represents. 7%, okay, of what? So I mean, and it's just stupid stuff like that. Basically, them saying like Xbox users don't buy games. Yeah, that's BS. There's no way. And even look at it, the charts for MPDs. Resident Evil 8 months after release is still in the top 10. I think it was like 8. But that game was, I think, broke records for Resident Evil. It's not going to break records if it's not selling well on the Xbox platform. It has to sell well across the board to like outdo the hype that was, Resident Evil 6 at the time, even though that turned out not to be a bad game, or no, it was Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 was the leader until the recent, I think, RE7. But like to outsell and just be the previous Resident Evils, it's gonna have to sell well on all platforms, not just PlayStation.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean, listen, they've always had these stupid questions with Phil. Still asking him about Scalebound and stuff, and part of it is that Phil is accessible and he's really, nice enough to do these rounds where Sony doesn't even talk half the time, or they talk very limited. And maybe they're smart for doing that because it's just stupid because some of the stuff is taken out of context, or they just want to, make it a news day. I don't know if you guys talked about this thing, not that this has changed, but it's one of the strangest things, and it's completely 180, but I know we're doing it at the end of the show. Have you guys seen this abandoned stuff?
Oh, yeah.
And how
that's been hilarious.
Abandoned, the real life waiting game.
It's a scam.
Yes, I honestly now this is not like I'm not trying to get the other side or play games here. That is honestly one of the strangest situations I've ever seen, and I honestly think they might never make the game. Like I don't know what's going on there. Have you what is your comments on that? I just wanted to ask the panel before we go because I thought it was very interesting. And I know a lot of people, have seen what went on with that. I mean, for me, I think it's a scam, right?
I think it's definitely smart marketing. People keep saying this is going to blow up in their face. If this isn't Kojima or Konami related, if it's not at least one of those, this is going to get destroyed. I'm like, are we sure about that? Are you sure that whatever abandoned game that was going to come out, if anyone was even going to give it a second look, had they not stirred up all this publicity, you wouldn't probably even know what their game was. You wouldn't even know about their studio. Now we know what Blue Box Studio is. Would you even know their name with all this publicity? Probably not. So, I mean, I think it's if the game's good, people are gonna know, okay, cool, this game that they released, it didn't end up, they may have catfished us. But you're going to know what that game is once they release it because everybody's anticipating. And they're like, oh, let me check out the app. They're just on they have them on the edge of their seats. All of Twitter, it was even trending. It's actually pretty smart. So as long as whatever they do is good in quality, people are going to eventually check it out because they're all waiting on the edge of their seat. So,
But that's just it, though. I looked at the tweets that say this developer's track record, and they either pull their games like they don't release them, or they are released and they're really terrible. These guys are spotty at best. So I don't know. I mean, maybe this is the first time they'll get their act together, but I don't know. I mean, there's a clear pattern that's emerging with these guys. Yes, we know about them. We know they exist now more than ever, but that's not necessarily a good thing when they didn't never made a single quality game before, or release them for that matter.
Yeah, as long as they deliver. But yeah, if they don't release a game at all, then yeah. But it's hilarious that people think, oh, it's Konami and Kojima. Like, were you guys not around in 2015? Did you not see what happened? Like they were so petty. Even at the award show, they wouldn't even let him come on stage. They're like, nah. And no, they were even worse. They went and made sure that there is no mention of Kojima's name on the physical releases. They ended up putting stickers on them. They even renamed his studio. They even then put special provisions that with his studio that he couldn't, basically kind of limiting his access, because it was kind of fishy how PT got released, because he was like the vice president. So he actually had cachet where he could actually, the theory was, and there's a good YouTube video on it that breaks it down line by line. You're like, holy crap, this may have been what it was, releasing PT without Konami's knowing. And because he worked closely with Andrew House at the time that signed him on that deal right, it was funny, right after he got out of Konami, and he released PT. So all he had to do, he had the authorization. He was like VP, and then basically like, yeah, Andrew House, I'm going to release this, because it was weird how that demo just came out of nowhere and just showed up, and then it immediately Konami was like, oh shit, pull this. This is what the hell. And they're like, we're taking this away, and they did it pretty quickly, where they were like, hey, we're pulling this after whatever deadline. So why would they pull that if they didn't? Obviously, Konami didn't authorize it, because why would they, freak out and pull everything immediately like they did? So,
yeah,
and
it's
yet
just
it's somehow working together for this game.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I for the past few months, like I've been watching videos of different content creators going down different rabbit holes trying to connect Kojima to Blue Box to Silent Hills, and Abandoned is really Silent Hills or whatever, and there's just nothing. There's nothing there. I mean, it just seems to be like some kind of trolling attempt. What was it? A couple of days ago, they released some kind of an app on the PlayStation Store, and it was just like nothing. And then it like glitched out or something, and then people were pissed. And I don't know. What is the deal with this studio? I just MLD. Was it you that said that they have a poor track record of releasing games as well, or something? Like it just I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. I mean, from what my memory, Steam Early Access, they promised updates, never came, pulled it. It just seems like that cycle, like times 5. Like they release a game incomplete, or they kickstart something. Oh, either way, they promise something down the road, never comes, pull it. Next year, they announce something else, rinse, repeat. Like it's just really sketchy. I don't know how they got Sony's funding, but I think Sony got catfished with this game.
Like, I remember, the first trailer for Abound, and I was like, okay, well, it kind of has a cool feel to it. There's a little bit of an interest there, but then nothing. Just nothing. There's been all this like fanboy hype, but there's been no substance behind the game. So I don't know. I just like it's a sad situation that we got here, and Kojima's kind of been dragged into this. Sony's kind of got, some egg on their face with this. It's just such a weird position to be in. I don't know. Like,
could this be their Scalebound? I'm not trying to be that guy in the room. Sorry, but I really hope that they're not pulling everybody's, leg. They're not fooling everybody. This is either the world's greatest marketing campaign, or this is just going to be just a very disastrous situation. But I'll just definitely say that Phil Spencer is a very, very nice guy. We all know that. I think Jim Ryan would like come down on the thunder on this developer if by some chance they try to turn this into a Scalebound situation where it's just an absorbent waste of money with basically no end result. And I really do think that probably more than likely, like they'd probably get the wrath of whatever Jim Ryan and the executives would want to do.
Right. Well, again, we'll find out in the coming days what becomes of this. Like, it's just, it's such a shit show right now. It's not even funny. Like, thankfully, Xbox is not involved in this whatsoever. So, just kind of sit back, guys, and relax. Get some popcorn out and kind of enjoy the show there. I mean, it's sad, you don't want to see anything like this happen, but, it's just kind of interesting as the events unfold. All right.
Well, here's a rabbit hole. Is this one of the reasons why Sean Layden is not around? Because how did they get signed on in the first place?
No, I don't think. Honestly, I think it's something where Sony will just wash their hands of them if they are indeed a scam or can't deliver. The only damage it's going to be doing is damage to Blue. I think that studio will go downhill. Now they have made games, but as you talked about, they really do have a checkered past, and I just think it's just pretty crazy how they kind of like went along with this hype, and they kind of used Kojima for their own advantage. But I do think it's now, I don't think there's any association to the game. And they have said as much as well. But, the guy Hassan he's been talking a lot of crap too. Like he was like only on PlayStation 4 or 5 and, kind of being cocky about it. But, for them to say we're going to have all this stuff, then take it down saying it was technical difficulties, then deleting the tweets, and then putting the same trailer that they showed originally up, and acting like that was something that was very peculiar. And I think that I would be surprised if that game. I think it probably it might have some problems. I don't know. I would be surprised if there's no more bullshit, because it's been a wild ride since. But I've never seen that. You just expect developers to have kind of a level of professionalism, and for them to like say they have technical difficulties, that's fine and all, but then to delete the tweets and then to put up the same trailer that they did and think people won't notice or call them out, it's like, I don't know. It's just crazy to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with the rest of you guys. It's a really crazy situation, and a mess, kind of bit of a PR nightmare to say the least for Sony, and Blue Boxes dug themselves into a hole. But we'll see as the days unfold how everything goes. I think on that note, guys, it's a good time to end things off for the night. Really good stuff tonight, gents. Also, great crowd, as always. A huge thank you to all the viewers that tuned in tonight. Really appreciate you guys. A lot of familiar faces, some new ones. Always appreciate it. And, if you happen to enjoy tonight's offerings, then, hey, consider dropping a like. It is always appreciated. Subbing to the channel, turn on the notifications, and share this out on Twitter, Facebook, and all other forms of social media. Moving over to the TXR panel outros, starting with General MLD Buddy. Hey, really incredible insights tonight, bud. I love what you bring here. Where can listeners follow you at?
Thank you. It's another great podcast as usual. You guys can, everyone listening can follow me at MLD Ghost on Twitter, General MLD on YouTube. And I'm on Twitter daily, always talking about the games, about news updates, and hopefully next week we'll have even more things to talk about with Xbox. Always a great time talking gaming with you, you fine people.
Totally, brother. I think we shall, yes. Judging by how things are looking at this point. Moving on down the list here, Eric Shockley, my friend. Hey, always informative having you around. Where can all these fine people in the chat follow you at?
Yeah, great show tonight. As always, you can find me at Shock Nero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, what are we trying to think? What's our next? Is 12 Minutes coming out this month? In like a week or two?
Yeah.
Supposedly the 19th.
Okay. Cool. Yep, definitely got to check that one out. I think I can run through that one. That one I can probably play on xCloud probably easily. It's probably not like Twitch like Hades. So, but yeah, good show. Thanks for stopping by.
Totally, yes. I plan on picking that title up in a couple of days, and I would keep your eyes peeled in the next few days, maybe even the next show. Might hear an announcement of something TXR related and possibly something 12 Minutes related. So, just a heads up on that one, everybody, since Shockley brought it up. Hey, before we leave here, I gotta get to the super chat from Alex as a Valve for $7 Canadian. Thank you, buddy, or $6.99. First off, I want to say hi to everyone in the chat and on panel. I also want to say what these guys are doing with this game Abandoned is terrible. Yeah, buddy, it is something really, really weird. Words cannot describe, really, like, just the amount of sketchiness that's going on with it, and I hope Sony holds them accountable, and just all the, PlayStation consumers in general, because it is just a crying shame. And yeah, I mean, just got to keep following that, see what happens with that. I mean, just again, it's just a never-ending, unfolding situation there. So, but yeah, thank you for that super chat, pal. Moving on down the list here, Tim, great stuff tonight, Mr. Xbox Lizard himself. Where can the fans follow you at?
xCloud Tim Dog on Twitter, and xCloud Tim Dog on Xbox. Good show tonight. Middle of the summer, not a lot of news, as obviously we know, but a lot of stuff coming down. We're gonna have Gamescom. We're gonna have 12 minutes. Some of the games that just released. Hades released. I got to get to that. I've been going to Mets games, Giant games all weekend. Kind of depressed. Got to go to work tomorrow, but got to pay the bills. So just wanted to say thank you for the chat, for coming down and every week and listening, and people who listen, thank you, and see you next week.
Well said, my man. And Centurion, hey, where can the TXR faithful follow you at, Mr. 50 Cent?
Well, thank you, gentlemen. It was an awesome show. Thank you to everyone out in the chat. Thank you for being here. For those interested, please find me at Centurion1307 on Xbox Live, Twitter, and of course, YouTube. And you can also find me right here every Sunday night on the TXR Podcast.
All right. And hey, to round this off, this is Invader, and you know what? You can find my content over on YouTube at Invader Gaming. Guys, this is short and sweet. Thank you again for coming to watch the show. We really do appreciate it, as always, and we look forward to seeing you all back here next Sunday. So we will catch you later, folks, and have a great week ahead.